Welcome to another edition of Candid Convos with Evette Rawls. I am not doing snippet PDs, as you probably already know. During this series, I'm actually going to be sharing some virtual teaching tips, somewhat of a survival guide. So I've already shared the intro video, and if you have not watched that, please go and watch that. And I've also shared video 1. So this is video 2. In video 1, I talked about the importance of timers. And I also talked about the importance of Google Slides, having that platform embedded into whatever system you were using to teach your students virtually. Today, I want to share 2 more tips. And I have found this to be so beneficial with my boys. I teach on an all-boys team. And we are finishing our first novel. We finished our first novel. And so now we're going into the products of comprehension, making sure that they understand what we're reading, understanding characterization during this time, as well as completing a digital project, a multimedia project that they will be presenting to their classmates. And I'm super excited about that. But as I go into the second tip of what I want to share that I feel like every teacher should be using, whether it's face-to-face or virtually, solely virtually, or blended learning, is chunking. I have used chunking since I know my first couple of years of teaching. And you say, well, what is chunking? Okay, I'm glad you asked. Chunking is where I take the information, and it does not matter whatever the goal is for that day or week, and I chunk it into pieces. So I teach in 3 different ways in one lesson. So if it's something that I'm trying to teach, whether it's a vocabulary term, or in our case, I'm going to use the example of characterization. I share a video on characterization. I teach them characterization through visual aids, making sure that they see exactly what characterization would look like if we was to break down or for them to add into some type of document. So I would give them some type of tool that they were able to break down and show me that they understood characterization. Also, I add audio. So with the video, you have different things that you can add in this video, where it's the music that may go with the teaching of that skill to make that student connect to whatever it is that you're trying to teach. Or it's just the words that's being given, but it's someone reading to them, And so with characterization, I have videos that I find where I use the platform YouTube to share videos about characterization, or I add music when I'm talking about something and I say, hey, do you hear how they describe that? That's characterization, and whatever it is that's being shared. And then I also teach it by where they have to put hands or hands on paper. So I always tell them, you need to actually have a sheet of paper and pencil beside you. And I actually want you to write this out. Or I create a more interactive slide, and they are able to copy and paste this within, or make a copy within Google, and they're able to add information within that document that they're using to make sure that they have that tactical piece where they're able to touch that document that they're working with. And so I make sure that I'm teaching it in 3 different ways. With the chunking piece, I always do it where we do it in 5-minute increments. So it goes back to that tip number 1, where we use timers. And with the chunking piece, I'll say, okay, for 5 minutes, I want to see how you practice this. I put a timer up. For 5 minutes, we're only focusing on whatever that first way that I teach it to them. I choose that, and then I want to see the product. And then I may do an independent study piece, and I'll say, okay, for 15 minutes, I want you to do this. And then I'll say, hey, for 15 minutes, you have 15 minutes to work this out. Now, there's another way that I use chunking, and that's the way that I actually time or I frame out my class every single day. My students know with timers, like I shared in video 1, the first 10 minutes of class is always making sure that the students are coming in, they have completed their attendance link, and they have done their bell ringer. 10 minutes, right? And then I take 7 minutes where I am talking. I'm actually doing direct instruction where I am the teacher. I'm not really guiding them. I'm just giving them the information, so they may connect it to their prior knowledge, but I'm just letting them know exactly what we need to do. This changes depending on what it is that I'm teaching them too. Sometimes it's 3 to 5 minutes, and sometimes it's 7 minutes. It just depends on the pace of the class and what I'm trying to deliver in that time. And then, because our class is now 45 minutes because we were doing virtually, and then I do the 15 minutes of self-paced or independent study where the students are working, and I make sure that they have that time to understand and make sure that I am paying attention, whether that's through breakout rooms or sharing of the screens, to make sure that they are understanding what they're doing during that time that they're working. And I also use another tool, but I'm going to talk about that next, okay? Because we're still in chunking. And then the last part of my class every day is I want to see a product, something. I don't care what it is that we learned that day. I don't care what it is that we talked about that day. There must be a product that's submitted. I need to know that you're gauging. It's like an exit ticket, if you will. Something that says, I know you got what we went over today. So that's chunking. That's the power of chunking. It is so important. And it also puts you at a place that it's very systematic. So the students know exactly what's going to happen every day. But it also keeps you on task. And it creates that systematic way of, you know, in the first 10 minutes of class, the next 7 minutes of class, the last 15 minutes of class, then the last 10 minutes of class. You have 45 minutes, and there you go. Your time, the day is up. The class period is up. And then you go to your next class. Depending on if you are on a middle school schedule like I am, you would adjust the times as needed. The last tip that I want to share in this video is the power of silence. As teachers, we love to talk. We love to teach, right? Some of us love to hear ourselves more than others. But when it comes down to us teaching, especially in this unknown territory, virtually teaching our students, they need that silence to process what we are sharing. They're overloaded too. So I make sure when I ask a question or I share a question on the screen, I make sure it's completely quiet. I don't say anything. Now, if they come in and they join in and they're talking and they're sharing, they may chat in the chat room, I let them do that. I let the students have that. But the power of silence, to silence your voice as a teacher, it is very powerful during this time. One, because it gives the student the accountability and the power of your virtual class. It has been magical. And sometimes I've done it and I'll ask a question and I don't get an answer right away. And the guys will say, "You're not talking, you're quiet." And they notice it, right? And I say, "Yeah, because I'm waiting on you to talk. This is your classroom. This is your turn." And they'll say, "Oh." And they'll come in with the answers. It might not be right, but the fact that I have created that space, I have welcomed them to use their voice, is so powerful. I mean, I'll sit here and I just think about how I you know, how the conversations have gone, you know, and I love it, you know, because we love that in the classroom, whether we're doing like the fishbowl activities or we're doing Socratic seminar, you know, all these different things we still can do virtually. However, we need to coach our students and show them what that looks like, because everything is done differently now, you know. So I wanted to give those 2 tips today: the power of chunking your lesson and chunking the information given to the students, as well as the power of silence. The first video, if you haven't watched it, I encourage you to go back and see that. I talked about the power of timers and slides. So I thank you for coming. This is what I have for you for this video. I will have video 3 coming up next week. I'm super excited about this video 3. It's something so, I found it to be very beneficial, especially during this time of our new norm. But I am excited about it because it's something I've never done. So I hope you guys support me in that. I hope you've liked this video. I hope you share this video. And please subscribe, guys. Okay? Until next time, have a good one.